Welcome back to the I Can Do Anything podcast. My name is Colin, and I've been quite absent, but today I will be scrounging for NBA and basketball material like the rest of the sports talk world because I can do anything. This episode of the I Can Do Anything podcast is brought to you by Landscaped. Are there any homeowners out there? If you own a home, in most cases you know that you're going to have some yard work. Landscaped is here to help. Landscaped takes pride in having the most extensive catalog of outdoor tools, appliances, furniture, lighting, materials, decor, power supplies, pool and spa, gardening, recreation, water and irrigation, accessories, and more. Visit our stores across the United States to receive help from our trained landscape architects, take classes and listen to seminars on a wide variety of topics and focus areas, including Gardening 101, homeowners, construction best practices, insect and pest control and behavior, creative materials concepts, pool and spa maintenance, fencing and perimeter design, owning your space, and many, many more. Or visit online at landscaped.com/anything to receive $10 off your first order of $50 or more and $50 off your first order of $300 or more. That's landscaped.com/anything. A special savings for listeners of the I Can Do Anything podcast. Landscaped. Also by Glitch Fix. Are you frustrated with your network connection? Does your online gaming suffer due to glitches and lag? If so, Glitch Fix is here to help the problem. Glitch Fix is a wireless router add-on that can be purchased anywhere you buy electronics. Simply plug it into one of the Ethernet cable outlets on your wireless router and see your internet speed rapidly increase. No more glitches during streaming of your favorite movies, shows, and videos. No more getting kicked out of your games on mobile devices and or video game consoles, and enjoy high-quality connection while chatting with friends and loved ones during video chats. Buy Glitch Fix today. Listeners of the I Can Do Anything podcast can go to glitchfix.com/anything and get 15% off. That's glitchfix.com/anything and get 15% off. glitchfix.com. Okay, people. The rest of the sports talk world is scrounging for basketball material while most people transition to football and begin to discuss the upcoming NFL season. I haven't really heard much about college football, although I'm sure obviously with all the podcasts and all the mediums out there, people are talking about football, but certainly people aren't talking about baseball. Over the years, I've kind of grown to just think baseball is really fucking stupid. I mean, I still I fucking had a great time playing baseball as a kid and would have loved to continue to play baseball a lot further than I did. But over the years, I've just my interests have broadened and I just, I don't know. I don't ever really, I used to watch, in college, as my viewership of baseball continued to drop, I still watched the playoffs and I followed my Cardinals pretty heavily, and I just really don't anymore. I don't even watch the playoffs or even the World Series anymore. I really don't care. Although I did see something that the Major League that baseball is going to do. I don't know when it is or if it's this season or next season, but they're going to do a Field of Dreams game. I don't know which teams are playing in it. I think probably the Yankees and somebody else. But they're going to do a Field of Dreams game in Iowa where the movie was shot, or where the location of that was based off of. I think that's a really good PR thing for Major League Baseball and for baseball as a whole. Hockey kind of does that with their winter game, the outdoor game. Obviously, all of baseball, for the most part, is outdoor, with the exception of a couple teams who have indoor facilities. I know the Twins used to. I don't know if they still do. But yeah, I think that's a really cool thing for baseball. There's still a lot of talk, though, about basketball in the off season. There's free agency talk, just kind of figuring out. I still hear talk about Chris Paul a little bit, or little rumblings about Chris Paul's future, whether or not he'll stay in Oklahoma City. for the remainder of this season or for much of the season at all. There's talk about, how Russell Westbrook and James Harden are going to fit together, and I don't know. I at this point in the season, I've kind of checked out of the basketball world for a couple of months. However, there are a couple topics that I feel are somewhat interesting. Let me start with the LeBron James AAU dad discussion. I find it amazing that LeBron James stays in. He just, like, whether people like him or whether they don't like him, he stays on people's minds. He remains a part of basketball relevancy, of pop culture relevancy, just of the sports world. People know whether they're talking shit about him or whether they're talking good about him. LeBron James moves the needle. And at his son's AAU games, he's in the layup lines, dunking and shooting with his son's teammates and with his son while the game's going on, as his son, who's not even in ninth grade, is dunking. I used to be fascinated by that. That, like, my favorite player back in the day was Vince Carter when I was younger, and Vince Carter was dunking in 8th grade and in 9th grade, and I always thought when I was a kid, like, oh, that's going to be me. I'm going to be dunking in 8th and 9th grade. And then I got there and I wasn't, obviously. And I don't know. So I guess it's not really surprising that LeBron James' son and Dwayne Wade's son, who are both on the same team in AAU and will be on the same team in their high school teams, it's not really surprising that they're dunking going into their 9th grade season. There's been videos surfacing of them both dunking with like 1 and 2 hands and in games, and those two are going to be really goddamn good. But during those games, as they're dunking, LeBron's getting up out of their seat. There was a play. I don't even know if it had anything to do with. I don't think that LeBron's son or Dwayne Wade's son was even a part of the play, but there was a transition play where one of the point guard with the ball, or whoever brought the ball up in transition in the middle of the floor, jumped in the air and went between his put the ball between his legs and then threw a little underhand scoop toss to. It's more than likely it was probably Dwayne Wade's son or LeBron's son that dunked it, but I really don't even think it was. And it was a really cool play, and LeBron was like out on the court jumping around celebrating with like the players on the team and the team's AAU coach, who, it's LeBron's AAU team. LeBron funds the whole thing. Like, he knows all these people really well. More than likely he puts a lot of these people in the places. He's probably, sort of like a general manager, acquiring players and, not acquiring players, but, putting those coaches and those scouts to figure out who's going to be on the team and all that together. So he knows all these people really well. He's a fan of the game of basketball. So he's out there celebrating and jumping around and having a good time, enjoying life as a dad. And people are criticizing. It's just amazing how people feel the need to criticize LeBron in every way possible. Here are the 2 biggest criticisms of LeBron James. Number 1, the decision, something I've talked at length about, something that raised millions of dollars for boys and girls clubs, and something that changed the landscape of NBA free agency over the last fucking 10 years or whenever that happened. It was like 10 years ago. Sort of, almost. Yeah, that was like 10 years ago. So there's number 1. I think number 2 would be LeBron James sort of micromanaging of team acquisitions and sort of LeBron James's role as a player general manager, sort of. And people criticize whether or not he picks the rosters well, or, you know, whether or not he's subtweeting people and like sending out cryptic messages through the media and through his media platforms. All the while, during all of this, he's going to 8 straight NBA finals, generating revenue for, you know, like record revenue, bringing in billions of dollars to the city of Cleveland after he came back from the stint in Miami. And now the criticism of his role in his son's life and in his son's AAU games. So we're criticizing LeBron James's decision to have make a TV event that raised millions of dollars for children that need millions of dollars, that children at risk in poor urban communities. Then we're criticizing his ability to manage teams and manage egos and teammates, and whether or not LeBron James is a good guy to play with, or whether you would want to play with LeBron James. You could cite Kevin Durant's comments this past season about it being a circus, or whatever he said about the culture and the locker room around the teams that LeBron James plays for. All the while, like I said, he's going to 8 straight NBA finals, and, you know, doing everything that he did throughout those 4 years in Miami and the 3 years in Cleveland. And now the criticism, and by the way, this is something he's been doing for years. His son's been playing AAU basketball and travel basketball in the off season, and LeBron James has been in the layup lines dunking. He's been on the court celebrating. He's been on the sidelines and on the bench, and this has been going on for years. And it certainly received a little bit of media attention in those past years, but this is the most that it's ever been. I think that's probably highlighted a little bit by his son now being not necessarily a kid. His son is now a legit, you know, college prospect and an NBA prospect. He's going on, and it's still honestly, it's still very early. I don't think anyone would ever jump out the window and say that his son isn't going to be an elite NBA talent. I think certainly he'll have an NBA career, to say the very least. But now he's in 9th grade, and this is around the time when regular human beings get scouted by college teams and even by NBA scouts. So that's certainly probably ramped up the discussion. Jason Whitlock on FS1's what is it? That show used to have Colin Cowherd on it. I don't even remember what it's called. Speak for Yourself. Criticized LeBron pretty heavily. I didn't even listen to his comments. I don't like or dislike Whitlock. I don't necessarily agree or disagree with most of the things he says. I don't really pay attention to him. I watched that show more when Colin Cowherd was on it, and I thought they were a pretty good duo. But Whitlock certainly receives a lot of criticism from the black community as a black man, just for some of the views that he has that sort of have political undertones. And he's criticizing LeBron's. I having not listened to him, I don't want to say what he's criticizing and what he's not criticizing. But the gist that I got out of it is that he's criticizing not necessarily LeBron's role as a father in his parent or in his kid's life, but just whether or not he should let his son have the spotlight. I don't think it takes away necessarily from the spotlight, from his son's spotlight. His son probably understands that his dad's the greatest basketball player to ever walk the face of the earth, and the most scrutinized, the most talked about athlete in the history of athletes. That's gonna come with the territory. I don't think that this is something new for LeBron James's son, LeBron James Jr. He's named LeBron James Jr., for heaven's sake. This is not something that... It'll be interesting, I think, when LeBron James's son is at LeBron James's period currently in his NBA career. When LeBron James Jr. is towards the end of his NBA career, or even, during his NBA career, as he becomes more outspoken. His son just recently got an Instagram account. LeBron finally let his son have an Instagram account. As he becomes more outspoken, he's assured to be politically outspoken like his father is. Most of the time, I don't know. Maybe he sees the way that his dad gets criticized in the media and in the news for being outspoken, and it could go either way. It could make him double down and follow in his dad's traditions and footsteps and do great things politically. With LeBron's Promise School, or the I Promise School, it could make his son double down and do exactly what his dad has done and kind of follow in that legacy and footsteps. Or it could make him just go the complete opposite direction and say, I want to stay out of politics, and I don't see it going that way at all, especially with the more than basketball stuff and the strive for greatness and all that stuff that LeBron James does socially and politically. I just don't see his son straying away from it. It could happen, but more than likely his son is going to become outspoken, and it'll be interesting to see over the years what he says about his youth and growing up as LeBron James's son, LeBron James's namesake. It seems like their younger son Bryce, just looking at the two of them, it seems like Bryce is kind of like nerdy and like isn't going to be the athlete that LeBron James is. That LeBron James is and that his son is. So it'll be interesting to see like that dynamic and what his daughter ends up doing with her life. She's obviously really young. I think she's like 3 or 4 or 5 or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see just kind of LeBron James Jr.'s outlook on life and outlook on all this media criticism of what his dad's doing at his AAU games now. I think it's probably really fucking cool. This is something that people talk about, but I think it's probably really awesome for those kids. I'm sure it's already awesome that they just get to be around him and be around his son and just be in that whole sphere of the LeBron James world. But it's got to be really cool that like their games are being, or at least clips from their games are being played on all these major, television networks and all over the internet, and people are talking about their games and their teammate, and just the ability to celebrate, to run up to LeBron and do a fucking chest bump after their teammate, or after they dunk in a game, or after they win a game. You get to high five LeBron. You're shooting with him in layup lines. You get to throw him an alley-oop that he dunks in a layup line. Why are we criticizing LeBron for being a great fucking dad? What dad, if they had the ability to dunk, wouldn't want to be in their son's layup lines with their son? Like, I don't know why are we criticizing a black male black male? It's no secret that black males, traditionally speaking, aren't there for their kids. That is one of the highest stereotypes of black males, is that they're not great dads and they're never around. They're in prison, they're out doing whatever the fuck they're doing. And LeBron James is a fucking great role model for his kids, for black males around the world and around the country. And we're criticizing him for being a dad and for being present in his life. I don't even really like saying we, because I'm definitely not doing it. But Jason Whitlock's doing it as a black male. I don't know. Again, I don't know if he's criticizing him for being a part of. I'm sure he's not criticizing LeBron for being present in his kids' lives, but he's more than likely he's just criticizing. I should really listen to his comments, but I don't even care enough to listen to his comments. But yeah, it's weird that people just like, oh fuck, all right, there's nothing to talk about in the NBA. Let's talk about how LeBron James is dancing and celebrating during AAU games that his son's playing in. I want to shift gears to Team USA and the scrimmage that happened last night. This Team USA team, it's interesting what's happening with Team USA. The team is very young, and your prototypical stars aren't on the roster this year for reasons that I think we saw coming once Paul George injured himself in that inter-squad scrimmage that happened maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago. So the scrimmage was last night, and one of the blue team or the white team, whatever, won by like 30, I think. It doesn't really matter, obviously. So the blue team had Bam Adebayo of the Miami Heat, who was recently cut, and then Harrison Barnes, Jaylen Brown, Kyle Kuzma, Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton, Donovan Mitchell, Mason Plumlee, Jason Tatum, PJ Tucker, Miles Turner, Kemba Walker, Thaddeus Young, De'Aaron Fox. I think Thaddeus Young was also cut with Adebayo. Joe Harris, Kyle Lowry, and Marcus Smart. And then the white team was Jarrett Allen, Marvin Bagley III, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, John Collins, Pat Connaughton, Torrey Craig, Jonathan Isaac, Jaren Jackson Jr., Mitchell Robinson, Derek White, and Trae Young. Trae Young didn't play in the exhibition because of an eye infection. And then, I don't know, it's just kind of like... that team's really good against the international teams. Like they'll probably still win the FIBA World Cup. There was a quote from Giannis Antetokounmpo about competing. I think the World Cup is in China, I want to say, or Australia maybe. I don't know. But Antetokounmpo was quoted saying that he'd give up the MVP to win the FIBA World Cup. And I don't know if that's a quote to show the humbleness and the insignificance to him of being the MVP and his focus on winning. And it just shows, to me, it shows his character over guys like James Harden, who said, I want to win the MVP. I care about winning the MVP. Meanwhile, he's getting eliminated from the NBA playoffs in the first or second round every year. Well, not every year. The Rockets have gone to the Western Conference Finals and lost to great Warriors teams. That shouldn't be that should be noted. It shouldn't just be skimmed over. They've lost to great Warriors teams and were eliminated by, I don't even know who they were eliminated by this year. But it sort of speaks to me about Antetokounmpo's character. I don't think he actually means it. I think it's just more of a thing to say. You could tell from his speech that winning the MVP meant a lot, but you could also tell that winning was more important. And I think that's what this is about. He's just showing you that winning is more important to him. They're not going to win though. I don't know if he's playing for Greece or I think he's probably playing for Greece. And let me tell you right now, they're not winning. They're not. Greece is not going to beat Team USA. Even with this team is very young and they've got good players, and I still think that they'll win the FIBA World Cup with these young guys. I think the team more than likely it'll be narrowed down to. So right now they have 15 and 11. That's 26 guys. It'll more than likely be narrowed down to a 15 to 16 maybe man roster. I think you could probably see Harrison Barnes, Jaylen Brown, Kyle Kuzma, Chris Middleton, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum. Probably not PJ Tucker. Maybe PJ Tucker. He'd be a good veteran guy. I've talked in previous podcasts about those NBA or about those Team USA teams that just had stars, and then they realized that wasn't the key, and they had the Tyson Chandlers of the world and just role guys. So maybe PJ Tucker would be a good guy. to have on those teams. But one, Harrison Barnes, Jaylen Brown, Kyle Kuzma, Chris Middleton, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum. Let's say they throw in PJ Tucker. I could see them keeping Miles Turner, Kemba Walker, probably not Thaddeus Young, Joe Harris. Bam Adebayo already got cut. Probably not. Well, Kyle Lowry, 10. Maybe Marcus Smart. Oh, Marcus Smart will not play due to injuries, so probably not Marcus Smart. Marvin Bagley, 11. Mikal Bridges, maybe 12. Jared Allen could be 13. Jalen Brunson's a little young. He probably won't make the cut. Trae Young probably will play. So that's 12 right there. So maybe Jalen Brunson could make the cut. Torrey Craig could probably make the cut. I don't see Pat Connaughton making the cut. John Collins more than likely won't. It's a good team. I mean, Kemba Walker, yeah, it's a really good team internationally. I still think that maybe they have trouble with Spain. Maybe they have a little trouble with Australia if Ben Simmons plays well, although Ben Simmons has shown in the NBA playoffs that even with Embiid and other stars around him that he still can't win because of his lack of ability to shoot. So I don't see Australia making much of an impact in the FIBA World Cup, but and it's a weird time for Team USA and for USA basketball. All these stars, because of load management and how much money they're making with these NBA teams, a lot of the stars aren't playing, and we're in an interesting time in the point guard era. These last 10 to 5 years or so have been a really, really great, probably one of the greatest. I don't even need to say probably. This is the greatest era of point guards right now. There are so many good point guards in the NBA, and the majority of them aren't on this USA basketball team. I mean, if you look at the top 5 point guards in the NBA, Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving, Damian Lillard, Russell Westbrook, James Harden could be a point guard. Mike Conley Jr. I mean, Donovan Mitchell's playing. He's certainly a budding point guard in the league. None of those guys are on it, with the exception of Donovan Mitchell. Kemba Walker is one of the great point guards in the league right now. He's going to play. But, you don't see these elite scorers. Durant is injured. LeBron's too old. He's done playing for Team USA. It's an interesting. Chris Middleton's certainly an elite scorer in the NBA now. Antetokounmpo is going to play, but he's not an American. It's just a weird time for Team USA and for USA basketball. But it'll be interesting. Now, all that being said, this is the FIBA World Cup. This isn't the Olympics. It'll be interesting to see what happens when the Olympics roll around. In I believe 2 years. We just had did we just have the Olympics? No, that was the World Cup. The Women's World Cup in soccer that just happened. I don't know when the next basketball Olympics is. It's probably in 2 years, because I think it's every 4 years, and then the World Cup is every 4 years in between. So there's every 2 years there's a World Cup and an Olympics. So I think in 2 years is the Olympics where basketball will happen. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Team USA once the Olympics roll around in 2 years. So moving along, Durant made some comments about whether or not he was forced back early because of the injury by the Warriors. Let me find those comments. So Kevin Durant opens up about his Achilles injury and the move to Brooklyn. He kept a pretty low profile throughout most of the free agency and through his recovery. He was interviewed by Yahoo Sports and said that I heard that the Warriors pressured me into getting back. It's funny even the fact that he says I heard the Warriors pressured me into getting back, because duh, obviously you fucking heard him. It's just funny that he phrases it that way, making it seem like, oh, I heard this. It's like, dude, of course you fucking heard it. Of course you fucking heard it. So I heard the Warriors pressured me into getting back. Nobody never said a word to me during rehab as I was coming back. It was only me and Rick, who was the director of sports medicine and performance, working out every day. Right when the series started, I targeted Game 5. Hell nah. It just happened. It's basketball. He said he made his decision to go to Brooklyn on June 30, the first day in which free agents such as himself could reach agreements with teams but not officially sign. Quote, I never wanted to disrespect the game by putting my focus on the future. It was always about that day, focusing on that day and what was most important that day. And throughout the season, basketball is the number one thing. In that interview with Haynes of Yahoo Sports, the discussion turned to Durant's status for the 2019-2020 season with the Nets' restocked roster. He said, I don't know, when asked by Haynes about him being expected to miss the season. Just like I didn't know I was going to get hurt. I don't know. We'll see. I'm early in the process, so I'm grinding every day. I'm not even trying to think that far, which is a good thing. I've been injured a number of times, and it's very important. Just like Durant has been. Durant's familiar with the recovery from injury process. It's important to just take it one day at a time. It sounds extremely cliche, but it really is important to not look full long-term and just take that's what the sports trainers are for. That's what the doctors are for. The doctors look at the big picture, and each day you focus on doing what you need to do, doing the little stuff that day, icing, stretching, doing little isometric stretches, and for his Achilles injuries, just little band workouts, light band workouts, just focusing on flexibility and range of motion and all that stuff. And then slowly you begin to strengthen and get back into basketball workouts and do all those things. So it's good that he's taking it every day. I'm not even trying to think that far. It's not going to do me any good. So I just try to focus on what I can control now, second by second. So who knows? We'll see. It's interesting that I thought that it would be a little more, I don't know what the forum was for that discussion with Haynes of Yahoo Sports. It was more than likely probably a podcast. Somewhere in that article, they said that when he was asked a question, you could see his demeanor change. So it must have been some sort of video interview. But I sort of expected it to be a little bit more of a. I'm sure he will talk in the future on more of a national platform about that decision to play and whether or not he was pressured or not. Although now, because of that answer, reporters will certainly be a little more hesitant to ask him that question, just because of his history with the media and the NBA and all that. But it's interesting to hear from him and hear that I kind of expected that. I kind of expected him to say, no, it was me. I love the game of basketball. I wanted to play. That's the biggest stage in the world for basketball. Why wouldn't I want to play if I felt like I could? And no one ever pressured me, because I think, for the most part, he won his championships with the Warriors, and the Warriors won championships because of him. So it's a mutual thing. They're both mutually really grateful for each other. They're going to retire his jersey. It's just kind of a circle jerk all around now with the Warriors and Kevin Durant. From this point on, it'll pretty much be cordial. They'll both thank each other for their services and go about their careers. I don't think there'll ever be any ill will between Durant and the Warriors and vice versa. We were kind of waiting on those Durant comments about the injury, and we finally got them. I want to transition to the Chance the Rapper album that's received a lot of criticism. I couldn't disagree more with the criticism that it's receiving. But first, This portion of the I Can Do Anything podcast is brought to you by Zit Remover. Many of us experience acne for at least a portion of our lives, whether you're just hitting puberty or you're well seasoned. It can be embarrassing and oftentimes painful. I myself have actually dealt with cystic acne since about my junior year of high school. After years of weekend-long AAU tournaments during the summers, wearing the same jersey game after game, and poor eating habits, my acne was quite out of control on my back and my neck. My acne was painful and just plain ugly. Thanks to Zit Remover, I don't have to worry about acne any longer. Just after 3 months of once-a-day use, Zit Remover didn't just temporarily remove my acne, it abolished the bacteria from my body entirely. To receive a free trial bottle of ZitRemover.com, visit ZitRemover.com. To receive a free trial bottle of Zit Remover, visit zitremover.com/anything and sign up to receive a free bottle of our best Zit Removing Cream, along with our special Zit Removing Scrubber and a scrubber. I'm reading too fast. Along with a special Zit Removing Scrubber, a scrubber that digs deep into the pores. You'll notice a significant improvement in your skin, and if you don't, your next bottle is free until you see the results. So visit our website at zitremover.com/anything for your free trial bottle today. So, the Chance the Rapper album has received, I don't know about unanimous criticism, but uniform, wide criticism for the subject matter, for some of the lines in it, and just kind of the overall theme and message of the album. So his new album that came out a couple weeks ago now, called The Big Day, is his first full-length studio album that was released for sale. You could argue that Coloring Book was the first full-length studio album, but technically it was released free. So this is his first one, technically. After first listen, I wasn't all that thrilled. The first listen through, I was listening at work, just kind of like listening to. This is traditionally how I listen to an album. Is I'll listen through and I don't really pay attention to anything specifically. I just listen to whatever catches my ear, whether it's a lyric, like a particular line in a song, or whether it's just the music. More than likely, the first time I listen to an album, unless it's something that I'm really invested in, like a Wiz Khalifa album, a Frank Ocean album, a Kid Cudi album, an album from one of my favorites, I just kind of listen to it. I just listen to it like it's music. And through my first listen, the Chance the Rapper album, I didn't really feel any kind of way about it. I kind of anticipated, like, okay, I listened to it and I don't think I'll listen to it again. And then I ended up listening to it again because I talked to a buddy of mine, Kenny Baker, who's always been a big Chance the Rapper fan and is just a connoisseur of music in general. He sent it to me when it came out and said that he really enjoyed it, and that he loved it. And so I listened to it again as I was mowing the lawn one day. And I listened to it like 2 times through as I mowed the lawn and did some yard work on a Saturday afternoon, and fell in love with it. Like, I love the musicality of it, the instrumental portion of it. I love the concept of the album and some of the interludes that sort of tie the whole theme together. I love that he's kind of breaking the mold of most rap albums, like the genre of rap and hip hop ever since it's existed has always been about fucking bitches, getting money, going to the club, fucking these hoes, like being a pimp, fucking running the streets, killing motherfuckers, like this is what rap has been about. And Chance, ever since not ever since he came into the game, acid rap was about acid. 10 Day was about being suspended and doing drugs while he was suspended from school for 10 days. So he's not necessarily always had this like good guy image that he's got going right now, but that's kind of like, even with the acid rap album, which was technically, I guess, a mixtape, but even with that mixtape, he still had this like really good guy image, and then Coloring Book kind of like pushed him onto the mainstream stage as a like this great fucking guy that was doing all kinds of stuff for Chicago and politics in general. It was pretty highly politicized or covered that his dad used to work in the Obama administration, or work for Obama when he was in the Senate or whatever. I don't know what it was, but Chance has this like good guy image. It's Joe Budden has notably on Everyday Struggle and on his podcast kind of ripped Chance a little bit early on for being this good guy, and then on his podcast he interviewed Chance, and that was a really great interview. Joe Budden's great. I used to not really like him much. My roommate in college, or one of my roommates in college, Dustin Hall, who literally looks exactly like Joe Budden. It's kind of odd. They're like the same fucking person. Is a huge Joe Budden fan. And initially listening to his music, I wasn't like the biggest fan of the music. I liked some songs and certainly liked at times the vibe of his albums, which is mostly sort of depressing and sad music about relationships and struggle with addiction and things like that. It has its place, but I wasn't a huge fan. And then when he was on Everyday Struggle, and I listened to the podcast a little bit before Everyday Struggle even started, and I became to really like Joe Budden and his sense of humor and kind of understand him a little bit more as a person. I'm a big fan of Charlemagne the God, and they've got a pretty good, and initially people thought they didn't like each other, but they've got a great relationship. I like their energy when they do stuff together. So Joe Budden initially criticized Chance a little bit, but I've come now to realize that it was mostly playful. Some of it was serious, some of it he did probably mean, but for the most part, it was pretty much playful. And Chance now with this album is really, really pushing forward this whole narrative of love and being married and being faithful to your wife and raising a family. And like there's a couple, there's like lines throughout the album about like pulling up to soccer practice with fire snacks and stuff like that. And it's just like it's like a dad album. Chance is like the cool dad. However, social media apparently the internet, from what I'm hearing from my friend Addison Dobb, who also doesn't like the album and thinks it's fucking stupid and calls Chance the Kids Bop rapper or something like that. Apparently the internet hates this album and is making fun of Chance like crazy, and how much he loves his wife, and making jokes about like Chance's wife should get out of there before he ends up throwing her in a like. I think generally speaking, like in a relationship, it kind of seems like if one person clearly loves the other person more, that the person that loves the other one less sort of gets pushed away eventually. And we don't know whether or not that Chance loves her more, because Chance is a fucking celebrity and an entertainer and a rapper, and she's not at all. She is not at all. So who knows? It's probably very mutual. It's probably extremely mutual. But apparently Chance is getting made fun of like crazy on the internet for some of the rhymes in the album, some of the lines in the album. I initially listening, I thought a couple of them were a little corny and just like didn't really flow that well, and didn't really like. You can tell when two lines come together, or when like a simile just is kind of forced, when a word is kind of forced and doesn't necessarily rhyme or make sense in a particular sentence. And there are some of those, admittedly, in this album, but as you listen to those lines more, I can't think of the one specifically that I'm thinking of. But as you listen to him more, it's just like, that's just kind of Chance's personality. He's a playful guy, and like he just kind of is having fun, enjoying life, having kids and loving his wife and going to soccer practice. Like I said, like, I don't know. I don't like, it could be because this is the really interesting part of all this from my perspective. I've always been a guy well, not my entire life, but a majority of my young adult life, from maybe since I got my heart broken in high school, my junior-ish year, sophomore, junior year of high school, from about that period to like a year ago, I was this guy that like, and I still, for the most part, think marriage is really fucking stupid. But I'm starting to understand the companionship aspect of having a significant other in your life. This album comes at a really interesting time in my life because I'm in love with a black woman who is fucking amazing to me. She's an amazing person. She's a talented athlete. She cares about sports. We play sports together. We compete together against each other, with each other, against my friends. I am wildly in love right now. And this album comes at a time where I feel all the stuff that Chance is talking about. Like, I used to criticize marriage and relationships and used to be like proudly independent. And now I'm at a point in my life where I'm really, really enjoying having someone to lean on and having someone to talk about my insecurities with and be vulnerable with. And like I'm legitimately really enjoying it. So I relate to this Chance album like quite a bit. So it comes at an interesting time for me, and an interesting time in sort of society where marriage, like I talked about, like is less cool. And Chance talks about it in the album. Is something being single ain't so scary no mo, or something like that. I guess they don't promote marriage no mo. So yeah, I don't know. Like it's kind of, I guess it doesn't surprise me a ton. We're in a time now where religion, which is what marriage is mostly based on, isn't so prominent, especially in pop culture anymore, but just in people's lives in general. I think as technology improves, I think as science improves, people slowly are pushing away from institutionalized religion, and that kind of has a lot to do with, you know, people's aspect and views on marriage and relationships in general. I think it's a lot cooler now to be single than it used to be 10, 15 years ago. And being in, you know, like with the whole women's movement and feminism, like women are more and more pushing the narrative of being single and not relying on men anymore, and like independent with yourself and making your own money, and like so this album comes at a really interesting time for Chance the Rapper, and he's receiving a lot of criticism. I personally really like it. I think that song Hot Shower, it's like the fourth song on the album, is like the most intentionally made song for that one fucking dance where the kids like they throw the thing up in the air and then they hit that little I don't even know what it is. I don't know what that thing's called, but they hit that little and like that song was clearly intentionally made so that young motherfuckers could hit that fucking wah to that thing. They throw the goddamn thing up in the air and they stare at it for a while, and then it comes down and they catch that shit. And they make that, I probably sound like an idiot right now. I don't know what that's called. I don't care to know what it's called. But that song is so clearly intentionally made for that type of dance. I love it. I don't even care about that dance or dancing in general. I don't care about, for the most part, trends on social media and on the internet. But when I first listened to that song, I was like, oh wow, Hot Shower is so clearly intentionally made for that type of dance that it's hilarious. I love the line in that song about nudes, about his wife sending him nudes, and how when he says that, it kind of like the timbre in his voice at the end of each line as that beat hits, where the kids do the yeah shit. is so obvious. Like, it's perfect. I don't normally like those like dance songs that are like intentionally made for a particular dance, but I think that song's great. I think it's hilarious. And that line about something about being in a meeting and my wife sent me some nudes, and then the fucking kids hit the. I really want. I don't know if he made a music video for that song, but I really want a music video for that song. I can't even, like, I've listened to this album so often without even looking at the track list or like at when a song ends or starts, that I don't really know which songs I like. But I love the flow of the album. It's got a little bit of everything. The song with his brother Rue, Taylor Bennett, that beat is really awesome. I like The Big Day. There's a couple, I think it's at the beginning, or maybe there's like a little instrumental transitional period in The Big Day, the title track song, featuring Francis and the Lights. I really like that little instrumental transitional period. I always kind of listen to music with that in mind. That's kind of like my video background. I always like to listen to music and kind of like take notes of music that has these little, like, maybe at the end of a song where the rapping and all the music and like hook and chorus and all that stuff stops, where there's just instrumental that I can use for like a little 10 to 30 second transitional period in a video. Or I just like to kind of listen to music with the idea of using those instrumental periods, those little like transitional bridges or whatever, as a score for a video that I do. So I was listening to that album and pretty much every song I ever listened to with that in mind. Big Fish with Gucci Mane is a good song. I really like the album, and I can understand the criticism sort of, but I don't see why it's so heavy. Like, it'll be interesting I know that he's responded a little bit to it. I saw a post on his Instagram that was shared with me from his wedding, that he basically, like, the caption of the post was about like, go ahead and flood the comments with all your hate about how, like, I think he's commented on a little bit. I read something about him saying that I think people want him to be depressed and want him to like hate himself and hate his life, but I don't think that's necessarily true. I think the internet just likes to capitalize on making fun of people whenever they can, and right now this is the cool thing to make fun of, I guess. But Chance the Rapper, if you're listening, I really enjoy the album. Like most people, like probably everybody, I don't think it's as good as acid rap, but I'm not necessarily going to tell Chance that I wish that he was doing acid and doing drugs so that I personally could have a maybe slightly better album. I like this little moment in Chance's life, and I've never been the type of guy to say like I wish Wiz would make another Kush and Orange Juice album, or like, where's 808s and Heartbreaks, Kanye? You know, like, people transition in their life and grow and become new. You grow and evolve. Like, you're never gonna get another Graduation album from Kanye West. It's not gonna happen. You're never gonna get Kush and Orange Juice from Wiz Khalifa again. It's never gonna happen. I can't even think of other artists who made classic albums and then people want it. You're never gonna get you're especially never going to get another To Pimp a Butterfly from Kendrick Lamar. You're definitely not getting a Good Kid, Mad City from Kendrick Lamar. Embrace the album that you love for what it was, and move on and grow with your favorite artists. Chance the Rapper is never going to make another acid rap, but he made The Big Day, and I think it's a great fucking album. And with that, I'm going to wrap up the I Can Do Anything podcast. But before I do that, this portion of the I Can Do Anything podcast is brought to you by Ludus. Selling tickets should be easy, so you can focus on what truly matters, your production. The I Can Do Anything podcast is powered by Ludus, built from the ground up for a high school theater director. Ludus is simple and free online ticket sales for K through 12 schools. With a customized ticketing portfolio, Ludus offers great customization features. One of the best features Ludus has to offer is the ability to generate detailed reports. Ludus also offers powerful reserved seating. Keep track of student sales by simply adding student ledgers, And with Ludus's customer service is a breeze. Oftentimes, it's nice to talk to a real person who understands what your job consists of, and Ludus is just that. Like I said, built from the ground up for a high school theater director. They offer real-time support through their chat widget, step-by-step guides, videos, and an 888 phone number. Ludus has sold over 600,000 tickets this year. Visit ludus.com and start selling tickets today with Ludus's forever 100% free guarantee to your program. That's ludus.com. And also by Standard Process. The I Can Do Anything podcast is brought to you by Standard Process. Since 1929, Standard Process has been dedicated to the field of nutritional supplements and the whole food philosophy introduced by Dr. Royal Lee. With Standard Process supplements, you will discover just how resilient your body can be when given the proper nutrition. Standard Process supplements contain time-tested formulas with whole food ingredients that provide safe, effective, high-quality nutritional support available through healthcare professionals. Our products promote a better quality of life for our customers. Like I've told you before, my uncle is a chiropractor, owns his own chiropractic practice, and is a supplier of Standard Process supplements. Throughout my life, they've worked miracles after many different physical setbacks. Most recently, I've been dealing with a little bit of a gallbladder issue. I don't even know if it's a gallbladder issue. I just had some blood drawn to see whether or not it's a gallbladder issue. Since March, I've been experimenting with a very strict diet. My uncle, who not only does chiropractic stuff and sells Standard Process supplements, does some kinesiology, and just I think he's a lot better than your traditional doctor. I think I went to the doctor this past week, and most doctors will hear you say a symptom and prescribe you to whatever medicine or whatever prescription they're being paid to prescribe you for whatever symptom they hear. Oh, you have anxiety? Take this. Oh, your stomach hurts? Take this. Oh, you have acne? Take this antibiotic. And I love the way that my uncle thinks about medicine. I love the way that he thinks about health and nutrition. And I talked to him about the way I was feeling. And over my vacation this past week, I ate too much gluten. I ate too much wheat. And my body wasn't used to it. I've been on a very strict no soy, wheat, corn, or egg diet, and had too much bread. I had some pasta. I had some pizza, all that contain wheat and gluten. And even like after going on as strict of a diet as I'm on, and I feel great on this. I feel fucking like way better than I used to feel. But even a little bit after you've adjusted your stomach to that strict of a diet, like even a little bit, as I found out this past weekend, and it wasn't necessarily a little bit, it was way more than what my stomach is used to. My stomach reacted pretty poorly. I felt like shit, like for like 3 or 4 days straight. I got back on my diet and slowly started to feel better. I had a little bit of an anxiety attack about my health, as I'm admittedly, I don't even like to say this. I don't like to use this word. I think everyone's a hypochondriac, but I'm a little bit overboard with my anxiety about my health and my well-being. I really like life, and I really like this earth. I really like traveling the world. I like having friends and family and fucking beautiful house on a lake to go to when I want. So I don't want to die, and I worry about it sometimes. And I told my uncle about the stuff I was feeling and the food that I ate, and he said, yeah, sounds like your stomach and your gallbladder probably didn't like all those food. How about you take some SP Cleanse and some Thymex and some AF Beta food to fix your bladder? All Standard Process supplements. I've taken a number throughout my life. They offer all kinds of them: Adrenal Complex, Biost, Ostrophin, AF Beta food, like I said, inositol, which is great for like if you're a little bit. My uncle used to think I was a little bit hypoglycemic and potentially at risk for diabetes. I got my blood glucose, my fasting blood glucose drawn in May, and found out that my blood glucose is great. I'm extremely healthy in that regard. But sometimes if I haven't had enough food, or like if I haven't eaten for a while, I get a little jittery and like feel a little lightheaded and just like kind of tired, and not necessarily like it's kind of, I would compare it to sort of like the shakes that people talk about when they drink too much coffee. I just kind of like get a little bit jittery and like I don't know, not necessarily cold shakes, but inositol really does, and it tastes like fucking candy. Most of these pills taste horrible and you have to swallow them, you can't chew them. With inositol, I just fucking eat them like candy. I just like chew on them. They taste amazing. And almost instantly, not instantly, but pretty close to instantly, I can feel that feeling go away, and I don't feel like chewing my arm off. I can wait another half hour to an hour before I eat a meal. I take Catalin daily. It's basically just a multivitamin that provides a lot of, the essential nutrients, vitamin B and vitamin C that our body needs in the quantities that we would never be able to eat the food in. These supplements essentially pack all the food that we would never eat into the quantities that our body need to function at a high level. Whether you're an athlete or a regular Jane Doe, standard processed supplements have what you need. Thanks again, people, for listening to the I Can Do Anything podcast. My name is Colin. Have a great rest of your summer. Don't know when I'll be back. School's about to start here pretty soon. I do want to talk about that ESPN article about the AAU landscape and the landscape of the NBA as far as injuries go. I'm going to get to that eventually with my good friend Addison Dobb and my lovely girlfriend Beatty. Have a great however long until I speak with you again. Peace.